Soros-funded violent leftist operation networks exposed? Shocker. The White House has released a list of political agitators, blames Democrats' Gestapo rhetoric for Dallas ICE attack, and 1,000% surge in assaults on federal agents. The White House on Friday published an article naming more than 24 prominent Democrat officials as political agitators, accusing them of fanning the flames of domestic violence through, quote, Gestapo-style rhetoric. The Trump administration claims that the recent sniper attack on the Dallas ICE facility, in which a shooter dropped into a rooftop position inscribed anti-ICE on ammunition and opened fire at detainees and ICE personnel, is the horrific epilogue of years of left-wing incitement to violence. The administration's statement links the Dallas shooting directly to a 1,000% surge in assaults and attacks on federal agents, asserting that the rhetoric from the top Democrat leaders has provided moral cover to radicals who see violence as the logical next step. According to the White House, the list includes governors, federal legislators, and local officials whose statements over recent years have, in the administration's view, constructed a narrative of moral justification for attacking ICE and law enforcement. Here's the rogue gallery of Democrat leaders whose toxic rhetoric has blood on its hands. And when I say toxic, I mean slanderous incitements to violence. Governor Tim Walz, Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Representative Robin Kelly, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Representative Sylvia Garcia, Representative Dalia Ramirez, Representative Pramila Jayapal, Representative Rashida Tlaib, Representative Ayanna Pressley, Representative Max Frost, Representative John Larson, Representative LaMonica McIver, Representative Stephen Lynch, Representative Dan Goldman, Representative Becca Balint, Representative Ilhan Omar, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, Representative Eric Swalwell, and Representative Jerry Nadler. And there's more to add to that list, to be completely honest with you. Take a look.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
And that's the result they want. Death. They don't want to debate you. They don't want to talk to you. They want to end you. That's why they slander you. That's why they lie about you. That's why they assassinate your character first. Because the end result is they want the assassination of you yourself. And Kamala Harris is not backing down. Kamala Harris rages at Black Caucus Gala, attacks unhinged Trump, Republicans, and incites leftist violence. She declares, "We must fight fire with fire." Kamala Harris took the stage at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual Phoenix Awards dinner in Washington, D.C., and decided it was the perfect time to fan the flames of leftist violence across America. Kamala painted a dystopian picture of America under conservative leadership, accusing the extreme right wing of hatching a long-term agenda that's being swiftly implemented today. She name-dropped Ronald Reagan, Newt Gingrich, and Pat Buchanan as the architects of some grand conspiracy, while conveniently ignoring her own party's history of corruption, election meddling, rigging, and weaponizing the government against political opponents, and violence. Harris went on to attack President Trump, accusing him of lining his own pockets, cutting SNAP and Medicaid, ending the war on cancer, and even deploying the United States military to the streets of America. At one point, Harris glorified radical activists who spoke with their pocketbooks and cheered the return of leftist TV host Jimmy Kimmel. She admitted Democrats cannot allow their opponents to frame the debate and doubled down with her closing demand, "We must fight fire with fire."
At a time such as this, it demands one thing for sure. We must fight fire with fire. So CBC, let's get to work. Thank you.
Clearly, they're doubling down, not toning it down, not dialing it down. No, they will double down, triple down, quadruple down. They want violence. They want chaos. They want murder. They want death and destruction. Why? Because they're a death cult. Cancer, acne rosacea, multiple sclerosis, and rheumatoid arthritis are 4 different diseases in 4 different areas of medicine. What if they can all be treated with parasite medication, and that turns out for these diseases to be true? What if I told you that if you had a pet or ate sushi, you are more likely to have parasites? This means that a lot of our ailments that we experience every day are caused not by environmental issues, but by parasites as well. This is something Big Pharma does not want you to know about. I know many of us check off many of these boxes. This is why Purge is offering their new liver cleanse products for all of you out there that need to clear those toxins out once and for all. PurgeStore.com offers everything you need to cleanse and detox your body. Powerful enzymes and probiotics, 15-day colon cleanse protocols, liver cleanse, and of course, the parasite cleanse. Right now, if you go to PurgeStore.com and use promo code DREW, that's DREW, you will get 20% off your entire order. Use the link in the description below, PurgeStore.com, and support the Gateway Pundit today. The Gateway Pundit is supported by the people, we the people, that is you, the American people. We thank you for your support. Speaking of the death cult, Soros' Open Society gave $80 million to pro-terrorist groups. Since 2016, George Soros' Open Society Foundations, now run by his son Alexander, has funneled more than $80 million into organizations with direct ties to extremist violence and terrorism, according to the Capital Research Center. For years, Open Society has been portrayed as a philanthropic giant, funding progressive causes. But the financial trail reveals something much darker. Tens of millions sent to groups that either train activists in sabotage or partner with foreign terrorist networks. The evidence is extensive. OSF has awarded millions to US-based groups that openly engage in what the FBI defines as domestic terrorism. Among them are the Center for Third World Organizing and its militant partner, the Ruckus Society. These organizations gained notoriety during the 2020 riots when they trained activists in property destruction, sabotage, and direct actions that paralyzed cities across America. OSF has also funded the Sunrise Movement, which lent its endorsement to the Antifa-linked Stop Cop City campaign. The campaign alone has left more than 40 activists facing domestic terrorism charges, and 60 others indicted under Georgia's racketeering laws. Soros's dollars have consistently flowed to movements that reject democratic order and flirt with terrorism. The Open Society Foundation brands itself as a defender of justice and human rights. In reality, the record shows $80 million spent empowering extremists whose goal is chaos at home and abroad. As we've been saying for years, when it comes to these leftist terrorist networks, Antifa, BLM, and several others that clearly engage in strategic organized violence, when it comes to them, They are to be taken serious because these people are not only going to hurt you if you encounter them. They're not only going to physically harm you if you encounter them. No, they will kill you. Here's some more data proving that. Major study reveals left-wing terrorism now at 30-year high, far outpacing right-wing extremism. Left-wing terrorism has hit a 30-year high according to new research. A study from the Nonpartisan Center for Strategic and International Studies concluded that although right-wing violence has historically outnumbered left-wing terrorism, the pattern has now flipped. Here's what their research stated. In recent years, the United States has seen an increase in the number of left-wing terrorist attacks and plots, although such violence has risen from very low levels and remains much lower than historical levels of violence carried out by right-wing and jihadist attackers. So far, 2025 marks the first time in more than 30 years that left-wing terrorist attacks from the violent far right. Despite its decline this year, right-wing terrorism could easily return to previous high levels. It is important to resource counterterrorism efforts against both right and left-wing terrorism, and work with communities to gain their support against extremists. Leaders across the political spectrum must condemn violent extremism of all kinds, denying it legitimacy and reducing its appeal. However, the authors go to great efforts to point out that far-right terrorism has been far more common. Clearly, there's a bias. And that's all we've been hearing since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, is that both sides need to look into the mirror and tone it down. As if conservatives or Trump supporters are the ones running around the United States of America assassinating their political opponents in front of the entire world. No, I think it's pretty clear by now, especially just the past 10 years in the Trump era, it's the left wing that have been violent. It's the Democrat Party that opened up their arms to violent tactics against their political opponents. It is clearly that side of the aisle, if you want to put it that way, that has adopted these cartel, mafia, violent tactics in order to shut down the other side. We want to debate. They want to put a bullet in your neck. That's why they all have to be dealt with as real terrorists. My name is Drew Hernandez for the Gateway Pundit, and you have been on Watch with Drew Hernandez. I'll see you guys on the next one.